Hello everyone, this is part 2 to what games that make you feel versus games that make you numb. You'll have a lot more context if you watch the first part. Alright, here we go. So, games that make you numb. The specifics of these types of games to me are very, very simple. They're live service, they're never ending, and typically multiplayer games. And to me, one of the biggest overlying factors that I've seen that contains this types of games are games like League of Legends, Overwatch, Valorant, Marvel Rivals, all of these types of games. Battlefield 2047, I think it is, 2042 or whatever. That shit is what I consider games that make you numb. They add nothing to the artistic value of gaming. Now, that's not to say these games don't have good art in them. League of Legends has some of the greatest artists that work in the industry to this day, if they didn't fucking fire them all to save a quick buck. But to me, one of the greatest aspects of these games is their good time sinks. I play some of these games. The best examples of these games come from the sports games genre. I like sports. I'm a fan of watching professional sports. I like football. I like American football, particularly those two. Those are the main two sports I follow. I enjoy them immensely. American football is a lot easier for me to follow just because the season's so short. And I love it. The athleticism on display is very, very good. Football, or soccer to the American audience, and people who have no fucking type of brain cells to go towards calling it football, because God forbid saying American football's too much. But football in general is my favorite sport. I play the fuck out of it when I can. I love watching it. It's some of my favorite shit to do. I'm a big follower of the team I support, which is Man City, and I'm a massive fan of the sports overall as a medium. That doesn't mean I like sports games, because I do. I like sports games, but I don't like how fucking predatory they are, and I definitely don't like the systems that they implement in making these games. As you can see, this Jude Bellingham's a clown in the thumbnail, for a very good reason. I feel like a fucking clown for buying the game, and I think anyone else who bought this game should feel like a fucking clown too. For months the game barely fucking worked. For weeks at a time the game felt slow, sluggish, and unplayable nearly, because the developers don't give a shit about these types of games. They don't give a fuck. There's no passion left at the people who make FIFA and Madden. There's no passion there anymore. There's passion in the Ultimate Team mode, and that's specifically to get more money from players. And people like Bateson should be fucking ashamed of themselves for putting so much money into it and feeding this constant addictive cycle, because it's people like Bateson who are the ones that are pushing this shit on people. They open so many packs and they always have the same excuse: I'm a card collector. You ain't a card collector for shit, brother. The fucking games turn off the servers after 5 years, and then your collection disappears. At least if you buy shitty Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you get to keep them for the rest of your life if you keep them in good condition. But in FIFA and Madden, that's not the case. They turn those servers off and your collection is null and void and disappears. To me, there's so many aspects of this shit that is horrifically penetrating the games industry and is raping it for every penny that it can. I fucking hate the fact that I love these types of games, but I hate to fucking play them. And one of the bigger overlapping themes you find in games that make you numb are the big ones being, one, they don't really provide you with any sort of real fulfillment. It's okay to have a goal and a rank to try and get to in these games. Like, I've been playing League of Legends for nearly fucking 10 years, a little bit over at this point. And for me, I can tell you from my own personal experience, I would go on big loss streaks and it would piss me off back in the day. It would upset me to no fucking end. But now I've moved on from being super upset about losses in a video game. But when I would win in those games, it wouldn't make me feel anything. It would just reward me for doing my job correctly, or it would reward me for carrying the game. But by God, if I play well and I lose, I feel like shit afterwards. I feel like someone has come into my house and killed my fucking dog. But then I realized it doesn't matter. I'm never going to make anything from this series, from this game series. I'm not good enough to make anything out of it. A big part of why people find it so frustrating is because you're relying on the teammates to do their jobs well also. And you're relying on strangers who are normally the most arrogant, toxic pieces of shit you've ever encountered. And I want to say we should thank the League of Legends community and Riot Games for keeping the League community within itself, because these people would pollute other fucking games if it came down to them being out of it. But in this series, I'm going to specifically focus on some specific games that I have a lot of experience with, but don't get me wrong, the number of games that make you numb way outweighs the number of games that make you fucking feel, because games that make you feel require actual effort, passion, and drive to make. These games actually require the developers to put in work, which is something that a lot of these companies just don't want to do, and a lot of these developers don't want to do, because they're too fucking scared for their jobs to make an actual informed decision that the player base would fucking like. Riot Games has consistently milked the League of Legends player base for every penny they're worth, especially over the last 3 years. They've really put a lot of effort in to really fucking the money out of the player base as well as they can. A quick example I can give you is the Jinx skin that came out for Arcane. Arcane is a massively popular series and is absolutely fantastic in every possible metric. It has a great story, great performances, great voice acting, great overall design. The show looks incredible. Scenes from that show you could use as a fucking frame and put it on your wall. It looks fantastic. But it's all designed to sell you shit in League of Legends. It's designed around making money from you in a game that has nothing to do with that kind of story. I think the reason why Arcane was so popular is because it gave these characters that you've known for years a lot of context and a lot of personality that they normally didn't have. Because in the game of League of Legends, the gameplay is completely obtuse to a personality-driven experience. Like, sure, people can say that they're attracted to the personality traits of a character, but all they are is a template. None of the characters are actually that deep unless you want to read a lore fucking column, or more importantly, you watch a Necrit video, which is fine. I like Necrit's content. I don't like Necrit's takes. I think the fact that he supports reaction content just goes to show you that and then makes reaction content on his second channel, just goes to show you where his priorities lie. I think he cares about the League of Legends lore, and I think he does care about these things, but League of Legends lore is the last thing on Riot Games' mind. The first thing on their mind is how to get more money from you, the player. It's all about money to these companies, and it's all about generating money, because I guarantee you, anyone who's played League of Legends or played FIFA or played Madden or played Overwatch or played Marvel Rivals are all around the same thing. They all start off with the mindset of, I'll never buy skins, I'm not really that kind of person. And you know what all those fucking people end up having on their accounts? Fucking skins. Why? Because it's something to it changes how the game looks a little bit. Thank God for a little bit of variety. To me, League of Legends is at its best when I'm watching it. Professional League of Legends is very impressive, and I find it very quite interesting to watch, and I enjoy watching pro players who are infinitely better than me at the game, but the game is also balanced specifically around those pro players, and that's fine, but then it kills the game and the engagement for the player base. Like, for example, role queue in Overwatch. One meta comp that became so dominant because of bad design on the part of the developers was GOATs, and it became such a massive issue. And if you don't know what GOATs are, it's basically 3 tanks, 3 healers, no DPS, because the tanks would deal enough damage and the healers would heal them all enough because everyone has a specific healer assigned to them. It worked really well because tanks were really difficult to kill, and if you play DPS, the tanks would outdamage you because they're being outsustained. It's just how it was, and it was absolutely fucking cancerous to the league and to the pro play scene. So they introduced role queue, which forced you to play roles that you didn't want to fucking play unless you want to sit in a queue time for over 10 minutes, which who the fuck wants to sit in a queue time? Then they brought out meal tickets, basically, because God forbid you plebeians want to play DPS. Oh, not so fucking fast, brother. I hope you enjoy waiting in queue for 10-20 minutes, or better yet, play one game on a role you don't want to play and actively hinder your teammates by playing, but in that context, here's your meal ticket. You'll now get into queue in 7 minutes. Congratulations. Here's just 3 minutes of time saved, or at worst, 17 minutes of time saved. Like, to me, a great example of these types of games are that they don't really add anything. And I always have a love for League of Legends, but not for the game itself, more for the people I've met while playing the game. The community around the game is fucking dog shit, but you do meet some fucking amazing people in it. I met my fiance through League of Legends, and we became friends because of that game and because of friends I had made through that game. And there are friends that I have that I love so dearly because of that game. And the game let me escape my shitty life that I wasn't happy with in Ireland. But it doesn't change the fact that the gameplay in the games is extraordinarily repetitive and is designed to just become part of your daily routine. Because as long as these fucking developers can pay their bills at the end of the month and Riot Games can make another $1 billion, then it's good. The game is plagued with issues consistently. They release champions with overloaded kits while completely disregarding former champions who are now so fucking useless that they don't even see any sort of real player numbers. A champion like Rengar, when I started playing, had some use, and now he's basically a joke. There is no gain to playing Rengar when there's another jungler who will do the exact same job better. And to me, it's fine to make new champions and design new champions, but why are you bringing out new champions that are so much better than old champions? To me, it screams of just new design for the sake of new design, and it makes no fucking sense for the player base to support these decisions. And I understand that Riot Games gets some pushback, but nothing ever changes and the player count never goes down. It's a majority popular game in Asia at this point, because at least that way the Asian player base is consistently the best at it and has the best sort of farm system for talent, and the PC bang system allows it to be widely accessible to the average player, unlike in Europe where the PC bang isn't as common or as popular. Another great example of games that make you numb are games like Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals has recently come out, and it is the poster child of the industry. I've seen videos coming out people's asses talking about great design, good character design, good this, good that. Oh, have we all just said the Marvel brand isn't toxic now? Because I guarantee you a couple of months ago they were making the same shit about Marvel Avengers. Now granted, I do think Marvel Rivals is better designed than most Marvel games they've brought out in somewhat recent years, but it doesn't change the fact that up until the game came out, the Marvel brand was toxic, it was overexposed, it was this, it was that, and now because they've added fat asses to all the female models, it's great character design. Or the fact that, to me, all the women in Marvel Rivals basically look the same. They're all extremely skinny, except for maybe someone like Squirrel Girl, who is, you could maybe define as thick, but even though she has a 2-inch waist and a fucking fat ass as well, because God forbid you have any sort of variety in the body design. At least Overwatch actually put effort into changing the body shapes of the champions and actually showed the champions in some sort of realistic view. And I call them champions because my most experiences with League of Legends, and the different names they use, it's just different ways to make you fucking try to remember more bullshit. They're champions, who gives a shit? They're heroes, who gives a fucking shit? To me, one of the biggest points I want to make in this is the biggest emotion that you will feel when playing these games is frustration and anger. It's the one thing all of these games have in common. You can't really find a rage clip, or at least consistently find new rage clips of Red Dead Redemption 2 or of GTA 5 or of Cyberpunk. And if you do, it's normally because of bugs. It's not typically because of stupid shit that the game is actively provoking in you. And I don't think the developers designed it with the intention of making you angry, even though it wouldn't surprise me, as anger is a very good emotion to manipulate on people, because at least anger will make people come back and try again. Because if they try again, they can really try and see if it's really their problem or if it's their teammates. But everyone is looking for someone to fucking blame in these games. You play jungle in League of Legends, you're gonna learn pretty quickly why people don't fucking play jungle in League of Legends. If you play support in League of Legends, you're gonna quickly learn why a lot of people don't fucking play support in League of Legends. And the reason why you're gonna learn this fucking lesson is because the player base is cancerous. It is fucking beyond toxic. A great example of a toxic player base that doesn't realize how toxic it is a player base like Overwatch. I don't play games at night to be screamed at by an 11-year-old who's gonna be in school tomorrow being bullied and then has to take it out on someone on an online game. Get a fucking grip. I had a game of Marvel Rivals yesterday where someone said us playing poorly ruined his day. Brother, if a game is ruining your day, you need to really reevaluate your priorities in life, because that's fucking pathetic. You need to really try and figure out what the fuck has gone wrong with you. But this is the thing with these games. Because you are dependent on other people and other teammates, it's always going to be frustrating when you lose, because you're never going to feel accountable for the loss yourself. I play Valorant, and Valorant is a giga-toxic community with a giga-toxic player base with a massive smurfing problem, but Riot doesn't do shit about smurfs. Why would they do shit about smurfs when it's another account that they can show their investors of infinite growth that they want to see? And investors are just blood-sucking fucking parasites that will only invest in your company, not in the way older investors did because they believed in the product, but because they want to turn a quick buck. It's the biggest problem with modern day investments, is that if it doesn't make profit within the first 3 months of my investment, I'm out, and then you're pulling your money out and the share price falls. Fantastic for the investor who risked so little and didn't gain anything, but it's a big loss for the company because they're losing investors because of a stock market that's so artificial, it's ridiculous. Tesla is worth more money than every other car brand combined. Okay, yeah, sure. In what fucking world? more importantly to me, though, around the games industry is the predatory implementation away from loot boxes like Overwatch 2. The reason Marvel Rivals is popular is because Overwatch 2 is such a shit show, no one wants to play it. Because why would they want to play something they've played 100 times over when, in fact, it's just a way for Blizzard to milk the marketplace that they can to get as much money as possible. The switch to 5v5 completely broke the game, in my opinion. It doesn't make the game any more enjoyable to play. It doesn't make the game any more engaging to play. It just makes the game more obnoxious to play. It just gives you one less person to fucking blame, and it gives you one less person. Role queue is a disaster of an implementation. Why not just have it be role queue for pro play and let people play whatever bullshit they want to play? Who gives a shit, man? It's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to enjoy yourself when you're playing games, not getting angry and getting frustrated. And that's why these games exist. They make you angry and frustrated, and it's partly in their design. I don't think it's an intentional design choice, but it's certainly there. The amount of people who are actually being frustrated and upset while playing these games is really, really, really high. You can see it on any clip you want to watch. You type in LOL Rage compilation, you'll find 20-minute videos, 40-minute videos, most likely made by an AI, but who gives a shit, right? It's just a compilation. So to me, it's like, and also the implementation of AI is disgusting. The fact that they feel like they have to save a little bit more money here or there is so pathetic to me. These are billion-dollar companies. FIFA makes EA billions a year because people want to maintain competitiveness in a competitive ladder system, which doesn't really reward the better player anyway. I know there are players who are so much better than the average player that they're able to use teams that are all goalkeepers and do well in the weekend league, but that's not your average player. Your average player, to maintain competitiveness, is going to have to put money in at worst, and at best, if they want the very best players, is going to have to put thousands of dollars in, thousands of euros in, or thousands of pounds in. Now, I don't think it's bad that these games exist, and I want to make that very fucking clear. Like I said, I'm an enjoyer of many of these games. I play Madden. I've completely dropped FIFA this year. I'm someone who would typically put a couple of thousand hours a year into FIFA, in the menus, in the gameplay in general. This year, I dropped it in October, and I haven't really been back. Why? Because the game's not good. The gameplay is bad. And the saddest thing is there's no competition in the market. EA has a practical monopoly on all of these games because they buy the license. So they can put out shit, and if you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself. That's as simple as it is. It's why exclusivity is such a toxic fucking thing in this industry, that a sensible games industry would have thrown out the fucking door and kicked its ass and said, don't let the door hit you on the way out years ago. But we didn't, because developers think that it's a way to sell their consoles or their product, and it is, because who wants to play as fucking the Arsenal, the North London Red, when you know it's supposed to be Arsenal? It's the biggest problem PES had over the years, was that PES made better games up until a certain point, let's have it true, but they didn't have the license for most of the teams, so you're stuck playing with fucking, I don't know, Arsenal Red of North London, White of North London, or some shitty Blues of London, or some stupid fucking name that they came up with on the spot, because they can't use Chelsea, they can't use Arsenal, they can't use Tottenham. But I want to now focus on Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals is a pretty okay designed game that is extremely popular because the hero market, hero shooters, although it is an oversaturated market, the biggest player in that market has been burning its players for years. And the reason it's been burning its players is because they realize that they only see them as dollar signs. The Overwatch and Blizzard development team sees you as a bunch of fucking fools. And anyone who is actively supporting them is a fucking fool. Because what are you gaining from supporting them at this point? You're gaining the ability to give them more of your money for a game that's so poorly designed now, it's not even fun. It's a game that's designed around a concept that no longer exists. For me, the idea, and I'll be completely straight here, I remember trying Overwatch for the first time in the beta that they put out. I remember playing it with a good friend of mine at the time named Otis, and we had a blast. It was what convinced us both to buy the game. We bought the game because we thought it was actually fantastic. We thought it was so much fun, and I'll tell you, it was probably the most fun I had playing a new game up until that point in years. It was absolutely an enjoyable, fun experience. And guess what? I couldn't fucking play Overwatch now if you paid me. I wouldn't want shit to do with that game because it's so uninteresting, so dull, so boring, and so creatively bankrupt. These people have designed a game around milking you for every penny you have if you want some variety in the characters. And it's a great design idea. And make the base the skin boring so you're more inclined to actually buy a skin. To me, it's horseshit. Like, it's what I was saying in my other video. Games that take the design and make the feel and the story of the game linked with the gameplay and design is what makes a game art. And these are artless garbage. These games have very little substance to them besides getting right into your addictive brain center with the gameplay loop that they designed meticulously into making sure you get addicted to. Look at Fortnite, for example. They're still currently being sued because they hired psychologists so they could get really into the brain of a child, so they could design the game around really addicting them to it. To me, that is fucking not just bad, that's fucking evil. Like, what the fuck kind of design model is that? That you have to make it addictive enough that people will play it. That is not good design. That is a fucking addiction. To me, the Battle Pass system in Fortnite is fine, even if it does completely prey on FOMO, but at least you can get the next one for free every single time. That's at least something they give the players back in terms of Epic and Fortnite. And I've never played Fortnite, so I can't really comment on the gameplay. I can only go off the news I see from it, because I have no interest in playing Fortnite. It looks like a game that was vomited up by a child who just is so ADHD riddled from being an iPad kid that he has no opportunity to actually process anything and just needs more new. They can add everything they want to that game and it will never bring me in. But it's not for me. It's for children and for weird adults. But anyway, and the next game I want to talk about in this sort of field is going to have to be particularly Madden. At least in FIFA, you can buy all the packs with coins. In Madden, you cannot. Why can't you? Because it's designed around making more money from you. And I understand why. Madden is not as popular as FIFA. There isn't as many players as there are in FIFA because there's only 32 teams, and that is what it is. But to me, and it's so strange to me that I had to like kind of really think for the games that make you feel video. For the games that make you numb, I can just talk and talk and talk. I could go for hours on this shit because the development cycles of these games are so creatively bankrupt that they don't do anything for you. A great example of this that I really want to talk about is every fucking Ubisoft game in the last 10 years. I want someone to show me a Ubisoft game in the last 10 years that they can say was a fulfilling experience, because I can't think of any. Like, a great example of this to me is something like Assassin's Creed Black Flag was a very good pirate game, and the worst parts of that game was when it was being Assassin's Creed. And everyone, that's an old take, everyone knows this, that's a fact. It was boring when you had to trail someone. It's boring when you have to slowly walk behind some historical figure you might know or you might not know. But when you were being a pirate, that shit was fun. When you were on the high seas, swashbuckling and fucking cock-chuckling and fucking cock-sucking, doing whatever you're doing on the high seas as Edward Kenway, it's actually really fun. But the problem I have with Ubisoft is that there is nothing they make that is any way creative or fulfilling. Far Cry 3 is the layout for the newest Far Cry game. Far Cry 3 came out in 2013. What the fuck are we doing? People are still buying the same game. Far Cry sells well. I don't know how well Far Cry 6 sold, but by God, I hope it had a lot of returns, because that game's no fucking good. To me, the only way these companies are gonna listen is if people stop buying them. And at the end of the day, I guarantee you that Jinx skin made fucking Riot Games a lot of money from the whales. Why? Because they're skin collectors. Skin collection is pathetic and stupid and makes no sense in any sort of context, because the game's not always gonna be there. As long as League is still popular, it's gonna maintain relevancy, but League is a dying game in the West. It is not as popular as it was, and it's never gonna be as popular as it once was, because why would it be? There is no gain to making the game popular again. There is no gain for Riot Games, because at the end of the day, most of their money comes from Asia. They're owned by a Chinese company, and they're specifically designing to make more money away from the game, with the game, by doing properties now outside of the game. Now, I don't know how much Riot Games has made a new player base with Arcane. I doubt it's very high, because even if someone who liked Arcane tried the game out and they played Vi has like 17 voice lines. It's Like, you're getting a taste of a character. You're not getting a character. And that is the hardest part of these games for me. There are champions in League of Legends who are basically loreless, like Shaco, who has like one paragraph and that's it. Shaco's been in the game since like 2012 or 2011. I don't know the release dates of all the champions, but fuck it, who gives a shit? That's an indictment on Riot Games for not giving a shit about their characters and not giving a shit about the world they're building. And I'm sure they're going to put a lot of effort in once the MOBA's out, once the MMO is out, and I hope they do. I love MMOs. I was a big World of Warcraft player for years, and I fell out of love with that game because Blizzard started putting less effort in. And to me, like, you're never going to maintain that sort of popularity. You're never going to maintain 12 million people's interest, and I don't expect them to, but I do expect them to put in the minimal amount of effort. It was like 4 bad expansions in a row before they actually took the finger out their ass and tried to make a good one, and then it went right back to bad. Like, to me, I don't really have any real takes on Modern WoW because I don't play it anymore. I wouldn't give them $15 a month at this point. It's not worth it to me. Why give them $15 a month when I can play Stardew Valley for $15 and it gives me infinite more value, infinite more personality, infinite more character, infinite more gameplay that's enjoyable, and infinite more enjoyability over time. Stardew Valley is not a fair comparison because, God forbid, it's made by one person, not by a team of hundreds. And to me, at least one person's vision can be maintained over the course of time. Like I said in the last video, these companies are the companies that make quality stuff take time to make it because you can't shit this stuff out. The guys over at Fortnite, if you think they have a passion for making Fortnite shit, I'm sorry, you're crazy. They've recently added that skibbity toilet bullshit that I don't know because I'm fucking old by internet standards. I'm 26, by the way, so I'm an old man at this point ranting into a fucking microphone about shit I don't like. But a great example of this shit to me is a game like Shadows of Doubt, which, although is unoptimized and runs quite poorly, even on my rig, which is quite a strong rig, I still enjoy the game, and I still really like it, because I love the loop. I love the effort that went into making it. And sure, it's procedurally generated, but at least it's procedurally generated in a way that makes it fresh. It's a detective game. Of course it's going to be procedurally generated, but and obviously, eventually, the cases start feeling the same. But that's like any job. You're just a guy who just goes around investigating cases. That's all it is. And it's pretty fun. You're doing it illegally. Like, the police don't want you there, and it's fantastic. It's very, very, very fun, and I think you should check it out. Games like Red Dead, like, even to a lesser degree, a game like Sufi, which hasn't got the best story in the world. It's a typical martial arts story, but it's got very fun gameplay that's rewarding to play. But another game that I think falls massively into this category that makes you numb is Valorant and Counter-Strike. But at least in Counter-Strike, you can make money from it. If you get decent drops or you get a drop from the case, you can get it to fund your gaming addiction. Not to a massive degree, but you can fund some parts of it. Like, I haven't bought a game on Steam with money in years because of my skin collection in Counter-Strike from opening cases over the years and whatnot. And I didn't really open cases. I mostly just sold cases, bought skins, and I was lucky enough some of them went up in value. But at the end of the day, for me, in Valorant is the most egregious example. They're charging CSGO skin prices for stuff you can't fucking sell. And the only thing you can say that they don't charge CSGO skin prices for is knives, because they only charge $35 or $40 for it. But it doesn't make a difference because you're still paying for something that has no intrinsic value besides your gun looks different in the game. And I understand that's the idea of a skin, but at least in Counter-Strike you can sell it on the marketplace or sell it on a third-party site that Valve, for some fucking reason, allows to exist. All they have to do is cease and desist these sites, but they won't because they know it would hurt the market really badly. So they are complicit. I don't want to hear a Valve fanboy tell me that they're not. They are. They sell Skinner box bullshit just as much as every other developer in the world. It's the same reason why Artifact was so disliked when it was announced at a Dota 2 event. Why was it disliked? One, people expected a bigger announcement. You don't put that much hype in for a trading card game online because they know you're going to try and nickel and dime them for every part of the coin, and the game's not even that well designed. Valve is a great company. They're a great games developer, and there's going to be a video on them on this channel very soon because I'd have a lot to talk about with Valve. I don't like how Valve treats CS as the fucking middle child of the family, that it's so forgotten, so left behind. They showed Train in the trailer and it didn't come out until this year, almost 2 years later. That is fucking pathetic. And it's a very slow, and I understand they had a major coming up, but you don't need to add it to the major pool. Just keep the fucking pool the same and add the map so I can have fun on it. CS2 should not have replaced CSGO. CSGO did not replace 1.6, and it was a good thing it didn't. Otherwise, Counter-Strike as a pro scene wouldn't exist, because CSGO was a disaster at launch and only got popular because of the skin marketplace. And that clip of Summit 1G still rings true today, that if the skin marketplace wasn't so alive in Counter-Strike, the game wouldn't have lasted. It wouldn't have survived the transition, and Valorant would have taken all the players anyway. And Valorant hasn't got the best shooting mechanics in the world. They had to randomize after the first like 10 or 12 bullets, because otherwise Counter-Strike players would have come in and shit on everyone, and they didn't want that to happen. But randomizing a spray pattern is not the way to do it, in my opinion. And I'm not particularly good at Valorant. I'm not. It's just a fact of the situation. But I still enjoy the gameplay to some level of extent, and these games do have a place in the industry. They're great ways to spend a couple of hours if you have nothing else to do. I don't want to get into a game like Cyberpunk if I've got 2 hours to spare, because it's a meatier challenge. It's a meatier game. It's a game I want to get engrossed in while I'm playing. I don't want to play Red Dead for 45 minutes, unless I'm just going to fuck around with NPCs, which gets old pretty quickly, but it's still a fun thing to do. Like, I still love the greet, antagonize function. That shit's funny as fuck, but you won't get an experience like that out of a Ubisoft game or out of League of Legends. The only thing you'll get, and the only thing these games have in common, despite being vastly different mechanically, is making you angry and making you frustrated. And to me, these games will always do that to you, because it's what they do. It's what they're designed around. It's how they're designed, and it's what feeds this sort of feeling. And some games that make you numb aren't bad, but the games always make you frustrated. They will always make you angry, and they're always there to make money from you, because they're almost always free to play. Like, Concord failed because it was a shit game with boring character design and shit gameplay, and more importantly than that, cost $40. Who is gonna pay for a fucking hero shooter when there's so many that are free on the market? It's insane. I don't know who the fuck is gonna do that. Sony have, like, and it's an investor thing. It's 300 million gone down the drain, and Sony's not a company that can really afford 300 million, let me tell you. They have one item that makes profit, and it's called the PlayStation. I'm sure you've heard of it. And they also fuel this anti-consumer bullshit like exclusivity. And another example of a game that is allegedly story rich, which I'm gonna eat into now, because fuck the developer of this game and fuck this game, Destiny 2 and Destiny in general. I have a brother who really likes Destiny, and he always says the story is what he's there for. And he's there for, what, 5 cutscenes a year, and maybe, and for the price of $50, and then he's there for a company that's constantly on the brink of bankruptcy because they miss their financial goals every single time, because the game is not very well designed or well made, but it is a good shooter. The mechanics of the game are good, but the repetitiveness of the game is terrible. You do the same strikes, the same events every time, every day, or every week to get the same fucking chance at a roll of a weapon to make sure it's the ideal roll, and then they bring out old weapons and release it as new content. That's pathetic. Any other game should be crucified, but the Destiny fanbase have nothing else to go to, so why would they complain? Where are they gonna go? Like, what other game is on the market that's competing with it? Nothing, because you can't compete with it, because people are attracted to the game that they're used to. We're creatures of habit, and these games will always prey on your creatures of habitness. Like, a great example is, like, the Halo story was never that great. It wasn't some masterpiece of storytelling, but it was always pretty fun. And the multiplayer was always harmless fun. It was okay. I still remember when skins were free in Call of Duty. I'm old enough to remember that. Now, granted, they had a fucking map packs that barely anyone bought. If you ever went to an old Call of Duty game and you would see the amount of people playing the map packs, it was always in the low thousands, but the base game was always in the high hundreds of thousands. To me, a great example of these types of things, and the skin prices in games are getting ridiculous, by the way. The skin prices in games is now getting to a point where I wouldn't advise anyone to spend money on this shit. It makes no fucking logical sense to spend any money on this garbage. Like, in a game that recently came out called Supervive, which player base peaked at like 79,000 and then plummeted down because, for one, the game is pretty okay. It's fine, but the gameplay loop isn't that great. It's pretty okay. It's League of Legends, but as a fucking battle royale with very little farming, or farming around the map on creatures. And one thing I will give the design on that game is your weapons automatically upgrading is very fantastic. But a part of the design that does not work for me is the skin prices. The skin prices in Supervive are so fucking expensive. If you want to get a high tier skin in Supervive, it's going to cost you like $35. Who the fuck is going to pay $35 for a game that is actively losing players? It is not going to be around in 2 years time unless they make some drastic changes. The game has already peaked and I don't see it getting any better. But this is part of the industry that we're in now, where it's so fast. It's like the fashion industry. Instead of being fast fashion, it's fast development. But instead of it being fast development, because you can't develop games with passion fast. You can't develop good games fast. It's not very possible. Instead, it's these developers are all going to be left off the job. They're going to get laid off unless they're bought by a big company who's willing to eat the loss for years. A game like Smite 2 is selling you content you bought before for a price because they're going to go bankrupt otherwise. And Smite 2 is a badly designed game anyway. It doesn't really work. I feel like they should have just kept it as Smite 1 because at least they had a core player base that enjoyed the game. Smite 2, you have to pay money for the access to, and I know it's becoming free to play, but I think it's coming too late. I don't see Smite 2 taking off. I think Hi-Rez is in serious trouble because Hi-Rez is a trend chaser rather than a trend setter. And if you're going to try and chase these trends, it's never going to work. Paladins is a piece of shit. It's not a good game. And to me, the phone game market is a big part of this as well. Phone games have made gangbusters for years off of single moms who don't have the money to fuck the pool boy. Fine, but to me, it's okay for these games to exist. I want to make that very clear now. I'm not saying your favorite online game is inherently shouldn't exist or is so artless and shit that it doesn't. But the amount of people who talk about Destiny 2, about its great story, its great design, its great gameplay, I'll give them the gameplay. The shooting mechanics in Destiny 2 feel good to do. They feel good to use. But what doesn't is everything else. The story is boring and bland. The characters are boring and bland. Your character is basically a nothing character. The only thing that separates them from anyone else is maybe the color of your robot, the color of your skin, or the race. Everything else is covered in armor anyway, and everyone ends up looking the same at higher levels because the fucking game is requiring the same armor, the same legendary pieces of kit to be mentally viable. And the raiding concept of the game is what keeps it alive to a certain degree, but I never enjoyed doing raids personally, and I understand that's a personal thing, but Destiny raids were just boring. They didn't add any variety. It's just, oh, we fucked it up, let's wipe. Oh, we fucked it up, let's wipe. Oh, we fucked it up, let's wipe. That's not exciting to me. Exciting is when something goes wrong and you make it work. That's exciting. That is when things have gone wrong and I can still make the situation better. That is good gameplay design. Destiny 2 is the furthest thing from good gameplay design. Destiny 2 is just another game with, and of course you can buy skins now in Destiny 2. You can buy character customization, which is one of the biggest selling points of Destiny. But they've always lied and deceitful. The Bungie is a liar and deceitful developer who, if you have any trust or faith in, you're a fucking idiot who can't recognize pattern recognition. You are fucking stupid, in my opinion. That's just how it is in my eyes. Like, it's the same for me, though. I bought FIFA. I buy it every year, and I'm a fucking idiot for doing so, but it's my love of football that buys the game. I don't give a shit who's on the cover, and I don't give a shit who's in Team of the Year. And, granted, you can say, oh, play career mode. What, the gutted career mode that got actively worse and less content from a game that came out in FIFA 07 in 2007, late 2007, early 2008? Or these games, they actively make the other game modes worse to make you play the game mode that's going to make them money. Ultimate Team is what's the most popular game mode in FIFA, and they added a new game mode to it that people were just going AFK in. It's not fun. Why isn't it fun? Because it's another situation where you're relying on your teammates to do stuff. At least in normal FIFA, the only person to blame if you do poorly, and this is why people get mad, is you. Because they're single player experiences. It's the same with fighting games. Fighting games are inherently, they were able to monetize the DLC option massively by taking away beloved characters from former games and putting them in as DLC later. Now, this is not just predatory, this is fucking pathetic. This is fucking borderline criminal to me, because you might love a character who just doesn't appear in the next game unless you buy a $70 game and then also buy a $20 DLC pack for 4 characters that you might not give a shit about, but one of them you might care. And to me, another great example of these games that will always be very predatory is GTA Online. Rockstar are my favorite developer for single player games, but by fucking god would I not play a multiplayer game by them. I wouldn't, for the simple fact that it's so predatory. It's so expensive to play those games properly, unless you're willing to put an outrageous amount of time and hours into something like a heist, where you're still going to get minimalistic rewards. People are whales in that game, and they are openly being fucking milked, and they seem to enjoy it because, oh look, a flying motorbike with a rocket launcher on it, that's crazy, can't wait to use that. And GTA 6 Online is not going to be any different, but I guarantee you at the start people are going to complain there's not enough content in it, because it's just how it's going to be. GTA 5 has had content for years. GTA Online has had content for 10 plus years, 12 years nearly. And of course, those games are going to... The GTA 6 is going to come out pretty barren with the online content, unless they really pump that shit up, and that's what the development time is being put into, because shark cards make so much fucking money. It makes obscene amounts of money. But when something comes up that Rockstar Games can't profit off of, they instantly try to shut it down, like GTA Roleplay. They don't make any money from it, so why is there an incentivization for them to make it better? There isn't any, because they're just as greedy. The investors are just as greedy at Rockstar Games, and I'm sure the Rockstar game devs get nice bonuses from GTA Online. At least I fucking hope so, because if they don't, they're being robbed of their creativity to add stuff. We never got single player DLC for GTA 5, and you could tell a lot of it was transitioned into online content. Like, Franklin had confirmed he recorded voiceovers for what he thought was single player DLC, but that voiceovers were clearly used to develop into an online story. The content that's in the online game mode with Jay-Z and stuff. And by the way, some of the worst, most boring online missions. The missions are repetitive and boring, but it's the same thing that you have in other games. They are repetitive and boring because that is what they want. They want it to be repetitive, and the sense of accomplishment you get from these games are very minimal, I think, to me at least. But I think that's all I have to say about this topic. I do appreciate you listening to me ramble on about these games. I think there's going to be a part 3 where I talk about why these games won't change and why people are fucking so addicted to spending money on it. The battle pass system is fucking garbage and I fucking hate it. I really don't like battle passes overall. I think they do provide decent value, but I just don't think they're very good. But I want to say thank you very much for watching this video. If you made it through all the way to the end, fucking God bless you. You really managed to listen to my voice for that long. You deserve a fucking medal. But thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. And thank you very, very much for your time. I value your time far more than these fucking developers do. And I appreciate each and every one of you who spend the time to watch, like, and enjoy this video. If you liked the video, please subscribe. Please like it. Do all that fucking stupid shit. I don't fucking know what the bell does. Don't bother clicking that shit. Don't get notified. Whatever. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. And yeah, goodbye. Mwah.